To this now, please note that some of the content here may be upsetting to some of the viewers and listeners. Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge says the lodging of a sexual harassment complaint does not mean it is an established fact, but rather an allegation. The top judge is currently at pains to defend himself against allegations of sexual harassment in the workplace before a landmark sexual harassment probe. Mbenenge is accused of alleged sexual harassment by Junior Judge Secretary Andiswa Mengo in the form of in-person interactions and electronic communications between June 2021 and November 2022. For more on this, SABC News senior reporter Canny Maphanga joins us in studio. Kenny, it's been quite the day. In fact, quite the week since we've heard from some of the testimony. But interestingly, he's denying that the emoji of a banana peel, right, is sexual, and that the injection emoji that he sent to the judge's secretary while she was not well is also not sexual. That's what he says.
Indeed, he is under cross-examination at this point, and he is at pains. We understand, albeit that the consequences are that his judicial career is at stake as we look at it right now and the seriousness of these allegations. But he's at pains to convince the tribunal that his understanding or his reading or the message he was trying to convey is different to that of what is being stated by the complainant and what the evidence leader, Advocate Sulema Skepers, is putting to him. The message regarding the syringe, you may remember yesterday he stated during cross-examination that it could be possible that it could be referring or to something that has a sexual connotation, i.e. a male private part. But he states today under cross-examination that when he used the syringe in a conversation that he agrees is a sexual, sensual conversation, that is the words he uses to describe it, he said that he was referring to giving Andiswa Mengo a boost, a medical boost. And then with the banana peel, he agrees that the conversation, the context in which it is used, was in a conversation that is sexual and sensual. But where he draws the line is that the banana peel had a sexual connotation to it as well. He states that it was something to convey a romantic delicacy. I'm not sure what the meaning of that is, but in a highly sexual, highly sensual conversation, the judge president wants the tribunal to believe that the conversation itself was under that context, but the emojis must be read differently according to being a fruit or whatever the case may be, because he described it as a romantic delicacy.
And speaking about the statements, there is something else that he's also, that also was a little bit confusing, right? He says that the statement of him asking for, and I quote, a quickie, right? He says, while she was studying, he says that her response to say that, keep drooling and remember when Andiswa Mengo was testifying, she said that I said this just to satisfy him. I didn't mean what I was saying. But he says no. In fact, the statement is loaded.
This is the argument that he's trying to advance, that she was quote unquote playing along, and he at no point had an idea that the alleged advances were unwanted and that these were two consenting adults who were having a conversation, a sexually charged conversation, and they both were on the same page regarding what they were discussing. So that is the testimony that he is giving in response to Andiswa Mengo, saying that she had to navigate parts of those discussions because she understood who she was dealing with. We see the judge president a lot trying to paint himself as an ordinary individual, but we know we don't relate to people as ordinary individuals. Sometimes status can have an impact on the way in which we engage one another. And she was under the understanding that she was engaging the judge president, the head of the court, a senior figure in that particular division. So she had to relate to him in a particular way. And that again speaks to Lisa Vetton's analysis of the situation, which was brought before the tribunal, that where a junior cannot outright say no to a senior, they'll then employ strategies to better manage the situation. So that strategy, I think, was identified as deferment, where you use different tools to manage the situation without having to heed to the requests being made of you.
So there was also another part that was a little confusing to many people. When he was asked about his marital status?
Indeed, that was a question that truly seemed to upset the judge president, because he believes that it now goes into the realm of moral judgments, moral questions. And I think he's correct in that that part of understanding it as a moral question which has nothing to do with the tribunal. That is correct. However, the context upon which he was asked about his marital status was based on his testimony. He gave testimony to the tribunal that he was interested in relating to Judge's Secretary Andiswa Mengo, and that he had the intention to pursue a romantic relationship. Now, that begs more questions, because if you have the intention to pursue a romantic relationship, then in what capacity, if your marital status is that you are already married? It was then Advocate Selby Skepa's argument that he allegedly wanted a sexual relationship. And if that is the case, then it gives meaning to the kind of landmark probe that we're in, because there wouldn't have been a true intention there, allegedly, if that is the case. It would have been in the realm of objectification of the Judge's Secretary and her being pursued for a particular interest, which is common in these kinds of cases. But he denies that allegation, and he refused to be drawn on his marital status or his personal life. But it is under that context that Advocate Selby Skepa was bringing that question to the tribunal.
All right, Kenny, we'll continue to watch this through your eyes. Certainly an explosive week, no doubt. My colleague there, Canny Maphanga, reporting for us on that tribunal probe there around the developments on the Judge President, Selby Mbenenge.